Morning, guys. Okay. So today so every Thursday, what we're gonna do is we'll have a rapid recap of every all the chapters what you guys will learn all these 4 days, like, and then we'll have more sort of tips and strategies, right? Which good morning, Arshia. Good morning. Okay, let's wait for others. So every Thursday, I will be utilizing this 20-30 minutes session for make you understand the importance of few topics and type of questions. Last week also we discussed, right? So in which area which type of a question we may expect. So in that way, we will try to see chapter wise and a few general tips and strategies, right? For example, this today's test, that is 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Online test. You guys have 4 chapters to do. One is biodiversity. Next one is principles of inheritance and variation, microbes and human welfare, and you have got environmental issues. So if you observe that in the biology schedule, I gave biodiversity thrice, ecosystem twice, principles of inheritance and variation thrice. It means it has a more significance when it comes to the weightage of these chapters in the NEET, right? Uh, uh, they are very much important, and even biotechnology also you should not be ignoring. Okay, so these chapters looks very small. These looks small chapters, but when you don't understand the concept in this ecology unit, you will be going wrong, especially this ecology unit, these environmental issues, at the same time biodiversity and its conservation are hot topics. They are very important. Okay, so you should not be ignoring. That's why I kept twice or thrice. And when it comes to biodiversity, I already wrote 2 tests on it, so I will be giving a new set of questions today. So what you do is you have to practice all those questions again and again, in the sense like I will tell a general strategy, then we will move forward. Okay, so that's it. Okay, fine. So uh, let's start then. So here you need to understand one thing, that NEET biology is concerned. It is almost both botany and zoology combinedly 360 marks, right? So if you can score well in biology, right, you can expect your score, you know, uh, a good score in your NEET final. So what you can do is, I'll tell a general strategy, right? So if you see this, many members has a question that, sir, how much we need to study NCRT textbooks. So if you see the NCRT textbook, if you are very well 100%, if you are line by line, every line, if you can really understand, and if you have that essence of every line, right, you can safely score around 320, 330 in that way. And why? Because almost 70 to 75% of the questions would come from NCRT, and remaining questions actually comes from even previous year's questions. Almost 10% of questions you may expect from previous year's questions. I'm giving a second type of worksheet, that is previous year's question. Usually, if you see any different websites, they say 10 years, past 10 years of previous years questions are enough, but to be a safe side, we can even take AI PMT questions, right? Aims and other questions also, past previous years questions, and you can solve chapter wise. I'm giving that worksheet as well. That is, previous years questions are very, very, very important. Almost around 10% of questions you may directly expect right from the previous years questions. So especially when you're reading this chapters like this biodiversity, you will be having different types of examples, right? I will tell chapter wise. So don't ignore previous years questions, right? Which may come directly from previous years questions. And then the next part is 10 to 15%. Almost 10% of questions would be modified, which would be a little harder to attempt. But when you guys are when people when students mug up things, right? So these areas they cannot really answer. So that's what I keep on telling for since 2 years, that it's bio is not a subject to mug up. It needs to be understood, and then the essence of the each line needs to be you know you should be getting that essence. That then only you will be enjoying the subject, as well as it will be useful for academics as well as even competitive exams. So almost 10% of questions will be modified, right? So those questions will be very hard when you try to mug up the facts. So you should be always focus on the concept and how to understand and how to recollect. This 30 days. It's already date was already announced, right? So 26th July. So NEET exam. So almost we have this is April, May, June, July. So within this 40 days, what you're going to do is just to recollect. So this recollection is what utmost important. So how do you recollect is what the strategy you need to follow, right? For academics also, I gave a particular strategy how to read, and that can be applied for even NEET, right? So you have to take the entire chapter, and then you have to quickly go through the outline, in the sense the headings of each chapter. It means once you open a textbook, without even looking at that chapter, you try to recollect whatever you knew in that chapter, all the headings, and then go back and see whether you are able to recollect that. So if you are unable to recollect heading itself, how you will be recollecting the concept? So then next step, good morning, Abniti. So next step would be recollecting the concept. So likewise, again, close the book and write all the concepts that you know. So writing like this, recollection is the key factor, right? Suddenly you see a question and you will be utter confused with what lesson is this, or which. So usually student actually goes in that way. What lesson is this, and then they will try to access the memory, right? So usually I don't do that actually. So whatever the chapter, right? Whatever the chapter is, it's not that this concept is confined to only biotechnology. No. Biotechnology is this side and molecular biology is this side. No, I don't have that. But usually what students do is that they will have partitions. So biotechnology means only biotechnology concepts they will cover. They will not link. So what you have to do is, this is a best strategy to recollect and take out these walls. We are not right. We are not building any walls in minds, right? So we have to take out that wall and we have to link the concepts with one chapter with other chapter. So when you face the question, you will be quickly recollecting. Okay, this is a concept, this is a chapter, this is a heading, and this is what we are speaking about. So it will actually really enhance your recollecting ability, because this all 50 days or 45 to 50 days what you have is always how much you can recollect, revise. So that's how I'm giving different types of videos, right? So if you see this, every day there is an outline, and there is a one more type of video. One is outline, one is brief, 1 hour briefing of chapter, and the third one is detailed discussion. So all these three would really help you in the preparation, NEET preparation. Quickly, you can thoroughly sit with me and you can revise along with me, right? That's how the Akshaya, good morning. So that's how you can actually work on it. So this is a strategy where you have to close your book, and then while you're revising, before you start revising, right? So start with this strategy. Close the book, write all the contents, right? And then come to the check the contents, what you missed, and then again try to read about that, and again you try to go into the depth. So this is how we come from a surface level to depth level. Okay, so if you are not remembering the surface things, how would you really recollect the depth things? So first cover the surface. No, get more familiar. You already studied 2 years of it, you wrote board exams also, you have got enough revision. So this is a time for recollection, right? So in this way you have to recollect, and then it would be very much useful. So as I told, this Thursday sessions I will give these kind of a tips. So I can't give every tip, I can't dump in today's video itself, because it would be overwhelming for you, or you can't really remember. So when you are revising, first thing is focus on the recollection and focus on the more conceptual part. And though the lessons are small, for example biodiversity and environmental issues, biotechnology, right, they are a little small chapters, but they are very essential. That's why I kept 2 to 3 days for them, right? So there are three types of questions you may get. One is directly from NCERT, almost 70 to 75% of the NCERT directly, and then you will be getting the next type of questions or previous year's questions. Never ignore. Okay, that's why I'm giving the second type. Even if you see my strategy, I'm giving three type of worksheets. Why is that? Because this is how you have to revise. One is you have to go to quick outline and then NCERT textbook, and later you can go for any other books available for the in-depth or the other surrounding concepts to cover. So first is NCERT priority, and then outline, right? So almost 70 to 75% you will get direct from the NCERT text, and then you will be having the second type of questions which from previous year's questions, 10 to 15 years. I'm giving 32 years of previous year's questions, and I'm even giving from more authentic and standard publications also, MTG publications, right? Those publications and other publications, I'm extracting the questions and I'm giving for you for the practice. And especially the next one is, after you read when you complete these two worksheets, you have to go for daily practice questions. So daily you need to practice those questions. I'm giving almost 40 to 45 or 50 based upon the weightage of that chapter. So you should be reading, taking these three steps or three uh, worksheets very seriously. So these are the three types of questions you may expect. Types of questions in the sense areas which they cover. Previous year's questions directly from NCERT, and then you have got modified questions which are mostly of conceptual base. So you can't really mug up the things, right? Okay, fine. So with this, we will start with each lesson and what are the types of questions you may expect and how to handle those questions. We will deal and we will stop this. Is that clear, guys? Are you able to follow? Is it helping? Are you able to follow? Are you getting clarity what I am speaking? Now is it clear, right? Why the worksheets are given, and how to recollect the things. Why is so essential? I'm explaining. That's it. Yeah, great, fine. So you guys are understanding, very good. So that's how I'm planning these classes very seriously, guys. Like I wanted to make I wanted you to get more benefit out of it. Though we don't have the classroom setup, I'm trying very hard to meet the requirements of NEET preparation, both botany and zoology, and more focus is 11th standard botany, plant physiology also. When we start plant physiology, you will be finding the difference in video making also. Okay, I assured that. So let's move to the next first aspect, that is first lesson uh, for this week. I mean today's test you have 4 chapters, right? So biodiversity, principles of inheritance. It means chapter 5, chapter 10, chapter 15, chapter 16 of 12th biology, CBSE, right? So let's see what are those. Means what exactly we can, what type of questions we may expect in these lessons, and how do we handle these questions. Just within 10-20 minutes we can finish this. So definitely I'm assuring that this session is very important. You tell to your friends also, whoever think that this session may not be useful, they can spend at least 20-30 minutes of a day to know what questions they are actually answering, and how to actually handle different types of questions, right? So let's move on. So first one is in molecular principles of inheritance and variation. You may get questions on the basis of what is a memory based questions, and even conceptual questions, pedigree type of pedigree analysis, pedigree questions also it will be there. And if you see these theories, laws, or they are not dominant law of segregation, these are very important Mendel laws. They may be asking as correct or incorrect statements, and especially these what is it, these laws, how linkage, independent assortment, how the what is a complete dominance, incomplete dominance, and their examples. Statements regarding these laws are at most important, you should cover at any cost. Okay. And then if you see in this lesson, you will be getting questions from even multiple genes, blood groups, right? So type of blood groups, they may give a pedigree type of thing, and they may ask you to find out what blood group is that, and what is the percentage or what is the probability of blood groups, right? So that offspring may have, when they give what is a parental types. So you have to focus on this exceptional cases, right? Exceptional cases. So multiple genes, polygenic inheritance, pleiotropy, right? So these are the topics where you may get different characteristics, and they may ask you to find correct or incorrect statement based upon the concept. And then you may expect pedigree analysis. You need to find out whether it's a dominant, recessive, autosomal, or sex linked. If it is so, what is they may give. We already solved in academic academic exam, right? Academic revision time. We have already. That's what I told. So when biology is concerned, I always kept NEET in mind, even when we are preparing for academic exam. I gave in-depth analysis to really meet the criteria for NEET as well. Though not all are participated in NEET classes, even though I gave, because I've seen this day. So maybe the students who are not joined in NEET classes, maybe they will be preparing after the academics exam. So in that criteria, I kept in that mind. That is the intention where I used to discuss these topics in depth at the NEET level, even in academics classes also. Now it will make more sense if I'm not wrong. So in this chapter, pedigree analysis, and you have to find out whether it is a dominant, recessive, autosomal, sex-linked, and different pedigree, especially pedigree. You need to know the different I gave it in class, right? How do you find out a pedigree? How do you approach a pedigree? So how do you, if any generation it is skipped, so it is a recessive. If a disease or a trait is passed in every generation, it is dominant. So what is a character? We can really say it is a autosomal disease. And how can we really find out it is a sex-linked disorder? That are already given for your in your running notes as well. And when I take up this full length chapter of this, in that I will be explaining more about it. And whoever already attended my class, it will be more clear, right? So these are the types, and you may expect questions like what are the different types of genetic disorders. They may give column A, column B. So mostly you will find match the following examples. Chromosomal condition. If it is a chromosomal aberrations, they may give combination of the chromosomes, maybe aneuploidy or polyploidy, euploidy. They give the ploidy, and they may ask you to find match with the particular disease. So these are the different types of questions you may expect. So what do you expect? Based upon percentages of linkage and ratios, that is numbered questions. Next, pedigree type of questions. Next, correct or incorrect statement based upon the laws, based upon the principles, because the lesson name itself principles. So definitely they will check your understanding. So correct or incorrect statements where we definitely go wrong. So you should be very much careful, right? So these are the, and some modified questions, like you can expect that they may give a situation, they may ask you to find out an answer. Okay. So these are the types of questions you may expect in this lesson, that is principles of inheritance and variation. Okay. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah. So let's move to the in next move let's move to the next lesson. That is microbes in human welfare, right? So in this microbes in human welfare, I already told there are 6 subtopics in this. Household industries, STPs, that is sewage treatment plants, as well as you have the biocontrol agents, biofertilizers, right? Biogas production. These are the 6 units. See, now I'm able to recollect these all subtopics within the lesson. So that's how you have to even recollect. That's what I'm saying. Recollection is the key. If you are able to recollect the entire chapter headings, definitely that is the first round of revision. And then next round, what you have to do is, then you have to subtopics you have to recollect. And the third aspect, you have to go in depth of each topic, and you should be reading. And the fourth step would be reading extra other than NCERT. So what are the related topics you can cover? Then you would be able to do better, right? Then you may score good score in the final exam. So if you see this microbes in human welfare, you will be getting examples. Especially the examples are very important. Here you will not be finding much theories. Here only the aspect is that you may get the flow charts, right? If you see there's STPs, primary treatment, secondary treatment, they may remove certain a certain process in between the flow chart. Um, they may remove one of the stages, and they may ask you in options to fill that, in the sense like to identify which process they have removed, or else they jumble up the sequence. So those are the process. When you talk about STPs, that is a process is very important. Okay. So that is primary effluent, and then primary treatment followed by flocks formation, secondary treatment, biological treatment. At the end you got anaerobic sludge digestion, and finally the biogas production and the components of biogas, right? The gases present, mixture of gases, those are present, and composition is very important. These are memory based questions. And theory based or something flowchart dependent questions also may get in, especially STPs, sewage treatment plants. And remaining things like you may get a lot of examples. So for example, vitamin B2, different type of vitamins they may ask, or they may ask what are the examples of methanogenic, what do you say, if you see this methane production or biogas production, which organisms are involved, what is the genus involved, or if you see this anaerobic sludge digesters, which organisms involved. So all these organisms names, for example enzymes and their functions, and they may ask you to find out which enzyme is produced by which organism, right? So likewise these organisms and their products and their functions also important when it comes to microbes in human welfare, right? So they may be asked as different correct or incorrect statement when it comes to processes. When we talk about processes, especially you should focus on this sewage treatment plants. Biological treatment is very important, okay? Because flocks formation is very typical or very interesting concept in treating the waste, isn't it? So for example, They may be asking about the BOD concept also. BOD is a repeated concept right from the botany aspect, and even in this lesson. So you should be able to find out proper answers when it comes to these concepts: BOD and flocks formation, primary effluent, sludge, right? So these definitions and their statements would be coming as incorrect or correct statements. Okay. So mostly examples are important in this, and this is Kuti chapter, small chapter, crispy chapter. No more, not much when come to concepts, right? Only you will be having STPs as a whole concept here, and biocontrol agents are utmost important because we are using this biological forms as an controlling pests and insecticides. So this is something interesting, something intriguing, right? So you have to finally focus on that. Even biofertilizers are also important. So these organisms, in biofertilizers, we have different types of biofertilizers we use. So kindly focus on the examples and don't ignore STPs and flowcharts, especially flowchart of the STPs. Is that clear? So far we completed chapter 5 and 10, right? Now let's move to the next chapter, right? That is biodiversity. Yeah. So if you say this biodiversity, already you guys are trying to, you already wrote 2 tests on it. If you really see this biodiversity and conservation, you will find a lot of examples for national parks, right? Their names, where they're situated, which organisms actually they are protecting, right? At the same time, endangered species red data book, right? So if you see the different associations, right? For example, we have got different association. WWF, we have UNO, WHO. We have different types of. If you see, previous question papers, you would have got, these type of questions, right? So previous year's questions from this lesson is utmost important. So you will get an overall idea. I'm hoping that you are really utilizing that worksheets and taking a lot of time and preparation and thought to prepare those. Though they may look like, okay, they are extracted from different books, but that's not like that. So I'm putting a lot of effort to make those by choosing what is important, what is not important. So carefully selected for your understanding. So please make use of it. So in this lesson, you will be finding different associations. Conservation means some associations needs to be there, some policies, laws, right? So these are all the things you need to focus. Especially, they may ask you, in correct or incorrect statements, and you will be having a lot of examples on, endangered species, red data book, what is it? Which are extinct species, and at the same time numbers like we already talked about numbers when it comes to different how we see numbers when it comes to this biodiversity, how this biodiversity is affected, what are the factors is affecting this biodiversity, right? So when we talk about these examples, we need to know even definitions of threatened, endangered, vulnerable, and rare species. So these are all the different types of species we will be seeing, and you may ask a correct or incorrect statement, and you should be picking up. So these are the essential topics, and especially the acts and policies are very much important, right? And the statements directly they pick from the NCERT, and they may ask you as correct or incorrect statements. For example, see this question. Right, identify the correct statements and choose the best option. So if you see this, diversity in species provides stability to the ecosystem. So these statements looks very simple, but when we are reading along with the other statements given and the options which are actually there in combination, 1 2 3 correct, 1 2 only correct, only one is correct, all are incorrect. So then comes the confusion. So you should be very careful when you're reading these statements regarding any of the endangered, threatened species, and vulnerable species, etc. And even the statements concerning regarding the diversity of the species, and at the same time the statements directly given in the NCRT, right? For example, biodiversity does not play any role in the maintenance and health of ecosystems. So see, they are actually modifying it. So it looks very simple when you read this text. So when you mug up, what happens is when the three four statements were combinedly given and they confuse with the options, then you'll go wrong. So you need to understand when you're reading itself. Okay, biodiversity is really concerned with ecosystem or not? Is that diversity in species provide stability to the ecosystem or not? See, if you read in this approach, in a better way, you can recollect in later, and you can really answer these type of questions. So modified questions. In this lesson, again, that I know this graphs are important. So the graphs are not may not be given in your NCRT textbook, but they made up. So they made up some graphs, but you need to know your math students as well. So you should know when the x-axis and y-axis, how if they give in what in you need to apply. This is modified type of questions, which are tricky questions. So you need to apply if there is any function they took, right? So in that type of function would affect this. So there is a relation between these two. Is that directly proportional, indirectly proportional? They may ask you in different types of graphs also, right? So these are all, they will be cooking up a lot of questions. That's how the same text of 38 chapters, they are almost conducting exam for almost 20 years. How come they are able to do these many question papers right from the same textbook? That's because the concept is what they are taking. Okay, line means few correct or incorrect statements you may get what do you say as an what do you say as an direct extract from NCRT, but not all, right? So they will cook these type of questions. They may ask you graphs. This type of graphs also we handled in different lessons during our revision time, right? Diversity and ecosystem. If the biodiversity is affected, how this ecosystem functions or ecosystem things would really hamper. So those relations you have to understand by the graphical representation. So while you're reading itself, you have to apply in that way. So these are the different aspects you may cover. So especially you need to focus on the different type of biodiversity zones and different examples. Migratory birds, etc. You should even focus. Is that clear, guys? So we just completed chapter 15, right? So now let's move to the last one, that is chapter 16 of 12th bio. Okay, that is environmental issues. So environmental issues, if you see, excuse me. Okay. So in environmental issues, what type of questions you may expect? So how do you approach this lesson? So what we are discussing is chapter-wise approach, and whoever missed the class, they're really missing the important aspects that I'm covering here, right? It's not that complete day you will be sitting with a book and you will be reading so that you will get excellent marks. Sometimes you need guidance, and you need to know the tips and tricks as well. So kindly share this video to the whoever friends missed this class as well. Right. So in this environmental issues, the last chapter that we are discussing, the things, the hot topics, at the same time, what are the type of questions, at the same time, how do we approach? So these are all issues. Environmental issues is a right now hot topic almost for 10 years. Like we are all, everyone is really understanding the issues related to environment, and everyone is talking about it, right? Even though they don't understand completely, they talk. That's good. At least they are talking about climate change, etc. But they don't really understand the concept behind it. But jokes apart, at least they are aware that the climate is changing and it has an adverse effect on the lives, right? Life on the earth. So here, when we talk about the environmental issues, the past issues related to the environment, that is, we have different incidences, right? Bhopal tragedy, Chernobyl, right? So how these, what are the chemicals that release, how far it depleted the environment, and how much it is having effect on the humans. So even environmental issue also we are studying in perspective of human only, right? So when we talk about ozone layer depletion, we are much worried about human life, obviously, right? So ozone layer depletion, what is the condition? How do we protect? What are the laws? What are the associations? What are the maybe UN, or what are the different associations actually communities formed, and then they are protecting, means protective measures may be coming as correct or incorrect statement, and even these issues they may be asking that this ozone layer depletion has nothing to do with the heating up the earth. That might be incorrect, like, so likewise correct or incorrect statements will be having. At the same time, uh, you'll be having different examples or conceptual approach to the algal blooms and eutrophication, right? So how do this eutrophication or algal blooms formation would really hamper an ecosystem? So they may be asking in a different approach. So chemicals and their effect on environment and their source. So these are the three aspects you need to cover at any cost. So the basic skeleton of this lesson goes in this way. There will be always a pollutants, and there will be some source of their pollutants and then their effects. So if you cover these three as in table, then you will be rocking this lesson. And this lesson is very small chapter, but you will have a number of examples. So it should be. And when we talk about different approaches to prevent or conserve or this pollution, so you will have a different approaches. So they may be asking different technology or the approach in a diagrammatic formats, and they may be asking different questions related to it, right? If they have in this lesson, if you have any sort of diagrams and at the same time graphs are utmost important. And you will be having different acts, laws that are formulated, right? And very rarely they may ask even years when they are formulated. So you have got different pollutants and their effects. So this is how the basic skeleton works. So mostly of pollutants, its source and their effects. And how do you control? Regarding the control, you will have all the aspects that which actually which control these pollutants, right? So how these pollutants are actually degrading the environment. So this is the relation you need to draw. So when you are relating to the environment, they may be asking a different types of diagrammatic questions, graphical questions, right? So graphs would be present, right? So ozone hole at x-axis, and then heating the temperature on y-axis. How it is they may give in a straight lines or parabola, and then they may be asking you to identify how this what is the relation between the ozone hole and the temperature of the earth's surface. So like that you may get different questions in that. So to better approach this lesson, this is the basic skeleton you have to follow. Pollutants, its source, and it affects on environment, linking to the environment. So once you know all these things, then you will come to the other techniques and other aspects that you can really control the pollutants. That's it for today, guys. So these are the 5 chapters we discussed right now with a rapid recap. And at the same time, we discussed how to handle these chapters, how do we approach the NEET preparation strategies, and the other strategies, and each topic wise also I will try to discuss every Thursday, right? Every Thursday is what more important than any other schedule I've given, online schedule. So classes, you will go through it, but these are the important aspect where I'm referring different different sources. I'm talking with your seniors, I'm talking with toppers, so I'm getting inputs, and then I'm trying to explain, right? So I wanted to explain. I know your mindsets and what you will take and what you will not take. So I'm thoroughly collecting the information, and I'm sorting out like this, and I'm trying to give what is more important to you, right? So please utilize these sessions very carefully, and if you have doubts, please reach me at any point of time. Thank you for joining the live, Arshia, Vinitya, Akshay, and yeah, again Arshia. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys for joining the live, and please share to your friends and whoever not present today, and tell the importance of today's session. Okay, and I'm already releasing the full chapter length videos, right? If you see this yesterday, I've released one of the video, right? So that's regarding microbes in human welfare. So it is already there for today, right? So what you can do is it is just 20 to 30 minutes video. You can read, you can go through it once, right? So I'll be sharing that link here, right? I'll be sharing that link so that you can make use of it. Okay, yeah, just a second, hold on. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So if you see this microbes, this is a part 2. Yesterday I've released. So little edited and I released. So please make use of this series also, that is full chapter videos. And you have one more type, that is brief account, 1 hour discussion on the full chapter. And you have daily sessions, outline sessions. Use all these sessions, share as much as possible. And if you didn't subscribe, please consider subscribing, and please like before you leave the class. Thank you. Thank you guys. Stay at home, stay safe. Hope you guys enjoyed this session, and please make use of it. Please go through those links provided. Thank you.